All right, call this meeting to order. First, we're going to start with Administrator Asbury giving kind of a breakdown of what happened first with the water system. Then we'll go into what we did, and then we'll go forward on what we still have to do, and then we'll go after that, we'll go open up to questions.
Okay. Just a few reminders. We are live streaming this, and so if you all could keep your individual chatter down to a minimum, so those of us who are speaking can be heard by the people who are listening at home. That would be very beneficial for us. And also those of us who do speak, if you can make sure that you just speak as loudly and clearly as possible for that very reason. Okay. So I'm just going to start, like Mayor Vernon said, with a basic timeline of what happened as far as when we learned about the Boyle order and then what we did in order to get to the point where that was lifted. So to start with, December 16th, during our routine samples, at the public safety, there was a sample that came back that showed positive for E. coli. There were 4 other locations that were sampled during that time, and those, like I said, are our routine samples. And they were the Y building location on Sunnyview Drive, and then a location on Virginia as well. So once there was a positive sample for E. coli on the 17th, samples were ran again. DNR required us to do a sample at the public safety building where the original test was. 1 upstream, 1 downstream. We did 1 at City Hall, and then we went ahead and sampled the well at Grand and Newton as well. So the public safety building came back clear. There was no E. coli further test positive in that one. And the well was clear as well, but we did have a positive total coliform at City Hall. And so those 2 tests on the 16th and the 17th, the E. coli on the 16th and the total coliform on the 17th are what triggered the Boyle alert. Okay? So from there, we started talking with DNR about what we could do and how we could move forward to get the Boyle order lifted. So on the 19th and the 21st, December 19th and December 21st, we repeated the previous testing that we did, and City Hall again came back with total coliform. The other locations were again clear. And then on the 23rd and the 24th, after discussions with DNR, they asked us to not just do those locations near City Hall, near public safety. They wanted us to do north, south, east, and west throughout the city. So we tested at Upper Elementary, the middle school, the wastewater treatment plant, and then a property over on Miller Street. Of those samples, we had you have to do 2 consecutive days, 4 locations, and so there are 8 total samples. And so that particular day, 7 out of the 8 tested negative, but we had 1 location on Miller Street that tested positive for total coliform. Again, no E. coli tests came back positive, and so we were confident at that point that that was no longer a threat within the city. So, and then on the 28th and 29th, because we still had those positive samples, we had to continue to test for that. We tested at locations on Chestnut Street, at the middle school again, and then a location on Miller Street, and then again at the wastewater treatment plant. And this time we had a location on Chestnut Street that tested positive for total coliform. Okay? So that brings us into January. On January 2nd, we did a flushing of our entire water system. I know a lot of you probably noticed that we went without water for just a little while. When we were flushing out the system, the water pressure was brought low, but then once we got it down to a point where we needed to, they turned the boosters on and it came back fairly quickly. I think we were back running within 30 minutes from that period of time. So we did that, and then we did testing on the first, I'm sorry, I got ahead of myself. On the 1st and 2nd, we had tests again, and then once those tests were done, that's when we started doing the flushing of the overall system. Again, for the testing on the 1st and the 2nd, DNR asked us to go ahead and test all of the locations that had tested positive. So we had 3 of those locations And then we did an additional test, and that was done at the middle school. So at this point, we had kind of a triangle with the City Hall building, and then Miller Street, Chestnut Street, and then the middle school as well. So we kind of had a rectangle of locations in basically the same general area. So on the first, a location on Miller Street, again, tested positive for total coliform. And then, so we did flushing again on January 3rd of just that northern portion of the city. And the tests that were ran on January 4th and 5th, they came back all clear, and they were done on those same locations, okay? So that is kind of a general idea of the testing that was done. So we received a verbal confirmation at 12:30 p.m. from DNR, but on yesterday, on the 6th, I'm sorry, that we had tested all negative for our samples that were submitted, but we would not be able to officially lift the boil order until we received it in writing. And so at 2:49 p.m. we received the order in writing that we could go ahead and lift the boil order, and that we did that at that time. And so we did everything we could to get those, get it out as quickly as possible, contacted the radio stations, the news stations, of course we put it on Facebook, on our website, and sent it out via text alert as well. So the next thing I want to address is what we think caused it. So we don't have a definitive answer of where it might have came from. At this whole time, all of the wells tested clear, and so we know that our wells are good. And so anything that was in our system was somewhere in the line from the well to those faucets that we got the samples from. So as you all know, we are a growing community. We have a lot of work that's being done, and I truly believe that this is part of the growing pains of progress. And I know that it's been not the easiest thing to deal with. Trust me, if the citizens think that the city officials have slept easily during this whole time, I assure you that we haven't. It's not been easy, and it's been something that we have spent a lot of time discussing, working on, and things like that. But because of there's a lot of construction, so to say exactly what it came from, where it happened, it would be impossible for us to pinpoint that. And so we just know that we are looking to, if this were to happen again, what we can do to make sure that a boil order doesn't last for 19 days. So the next thing I want to do is I want to talk about what we are doing moving forward. As you all well know, our boil order has been lifted, but we're not completely finished with this whole process just yet. And so the Missouri Department of Natural Resources, they have approved our request for a temporary chlorination process. This is not a permanent chlorination process at this time. We are still just going to disinfect our lines with a temporary chlorination process. And so this will be done by installing temporary chlorine pumps and tanks at our 4 well sites. Now, we do have representatives from Missouri Rural Water Association, Joe Anstein, and Nathan Lyons are here, and so I've asked them to speak to us just so we know exactly what that process is going to look like and what we should expect as a community. So can you guys go ahead and stand up and come up here, please?
I'm Bill Anstein from Missouri Rural Water Association. I'm projects manager for the association. The process is now we have the waiver from the Department of Natural Resources to install the chlorination pumps, and we're going to start that in the morning first thing. We'll be setting pumps up at the stations, regulating them to bring the chlorine levels up to 5 parts per million, according to DNR's recommendations. We will run that until we get a residual throughout the system. At that time, DNR has instructed us to shut the chlorination off. The system will be completely flushed until there is no residual left, and then more back-T samples will be taken at that time. And that's the next process we're in. So during this process, we'll want to remind everybody that if you have kidney dialysis machines, anything that chlorine will affect, you need to dechlorinate your water before going through dialysis machines and stuff like that. If you're intolerant to chlorine, just be aware of that it will be coming through the system. You're going to experience probably discoloration in water, taste and odors and everything else, but with the chlorination in there, there is not a very good chance of any bacteria getting past the chlorination process. So, everything,
No, we got a crew coming tomorrow. They're gonna be bringing in parts of pumps. We're gonna supply some as more heavy grade equipment for you guys to borrow. Testing equipment, I'm gonna bring you a new tester so that you can use it while you're going through this process. And then we're just here to help kind of guide you guys through this next step that you gotta go through.
What's the time frame from start to finish? What does that look like?
it's gonna vary how, I would say you're gonna be at least a week out. By the time we get it up, and then the flushing process will speed it up to get it back out, but it's just, we're gonna let it migrate through the system naturally. So that will take care of any bacteria or anything that's left in the system as the flushing process goes on. And then, I would say a week is what you're looking at. I've set these up in several towns, and it's the same everywhere. I mean, this isn't the first rodeo we've been to, at least on this kind of stuff, so.
Is it's safe to drink?
Yes,
when you're doing
yeah,
this?
yeah. Yeah.
Most communities already have chlorinated water. There's very few across the state that still
That's
don't
more,
chlorinate.
yeah.
So.
Or does the board have any other questions before we open it up?
So if anyone has questions for these two gentlemen, we'll invite you to come up and sign in for, we'll let them answer their questions first, and if they wanna leave, we'll let them get back to whatever they've got going on. Hopefully they'll be here early tomorrow to get this set up for us. But if anyone has questions for them about what's going to happen over the next week, podium's here, if you wanna come up.
I have a couple of questions, but I don't need to come up, I'm Laura
Just a moment.
Simmons.
Just a moment. Oh, we have someone coming up.
If you'll sign in too, in case we've got questions back for you later.
My name's Tim Bradley. How the chlorinated system, the pumps, the stuff that you're bringing in, how secure are they against cyclone? Are they?
But, yeah,
there's none of
they're
that?
nothing's
Okay.
connected to internet.
All right, that was my main
No.
concern.
They're in a locked building,
Okay.
they're manual pumps.
Manual pump?
At this point, it's temporary, we're not gonna expect the city to buy big high dollar pumps that go to telemetry or anything like that, these are all gonna be manual. And once we get them set, cause we'll take the flow rate, the percentage of chlorine that we're feeding, and the dosage rate we wanna achieve, we put that all into a calculation, come up with a number. And when we set that pump, we'll know how many parts or milligrams per liter that's coming out of that pump, and it's set.
But it has no internet connection or anything like that? Okay. Second, is there potentially any water lines that are metal? I know chlorine sometimes will have an adverse reaction. Is that a possibility?
Chlorine is a acidic product, and yeah, there's always, but that's what the flushing's gonna take part of. If there's any iron or anything broke, say you've got a galvanized line that's iron encrusted, and it breaks it apart, when we flush, it's gonna flush that out, so, yeah.
Okay, all right, that's all I have, thank you.
Thank you.
Quick question, what will the temporary chlorination process cost the city?
Laura, can we ask you to go ahead and sign in, please?
Sure.
So as far as our cost, we're free to the city.
The city's one of our membership,
They-
and
We don't have enough equipment on hand for the size of building to bring in all the equipment to help them for free, so they are gonna have to purchase a couple chlorination pumps. We're gonna bring in a couple of our own pumps, and then they'll have to purchase the chlorine itself. However much that ends up being, will just be determined on how long it takes to get to that residual level.
I believe they gave you all this, another bid on what chlorination, or what chlorine ran per gallon.
Yeah.
And,
It was about 20,000 was kind of the bid where it was, so it's not cheap.
And I think that was supposed to be kind of the high end of the.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think 8 to 20,000, but of course, we consider the 20,000 to be closer to what it's probably in the.
Well, I did the numbers on one of the wells, a 200 gallon minute, you're only gonna put in less than a half a gallon in a 24-hour period, so that kind of gives you an idea. And we're using probably 12.5 bleach, instead of regular household use, so it's in SF approved.
And then one last question, will the city advise community members that will be sensitive to chlorination how to avoid for their dialysis machines? Are there PSAs on that stuff, or
I
that's
believe
answer
there's
question
bulletins on
sheets?
the DNR website you can pull down. Yes.
Okay.
Anything else? Please,
Sorry. So, if you're reading the paper right now, or the news, Human Health Services is condemning chlorine in water right now. Kennedy, he's trying to defer what we can from chlorine being in water. You read about that, I'm sure, right? Okay, it's all in the news, but anyway, just take the politics aside here, guys. There's pros and cons to this. This is gonna be a temporary thing, we're not pushing to go permanent without approval of the community.
I have no say over that.
Correct.
Okay.
I'll say that. We're not looking to do this permanently.
Yeah.
It's something that we wanna do, that we've been suggested by DNR to flush our system again. We're going to do it. And then after that, yeah, we don't have any plans to put more in the water. At least I don't. I shouldn't speak for the board.
No, I agree, I appreciate that.
But we're not.
Because there is obviously concerns about it going across right now, and it's odd that just came out this week, that they're gonna announce something next week, that they're actually pushing to not force chlorine on people, fluoride as well, so I'm just curious if that's gonna have the same problem.
I'm sorry, sir, what was your name?
Brett Claxton.
Anyone else? You-
Okay, yeah. Just questions for the Missouri Rural Water Association at this time.
No, thank you guys. We'll see you next week.
See you in the morning.
Yeah. Steve, do you wanna tell people about the process a little bit, about how you collected, because that's kind of an interesting thing. If you wanna speak up and let people know how you collect the sample and what pitfalls there might be for that.
Well, on routine sampling, we have 5 areas. So I go to the natural 5 areas I have. Now, all my routine samples, I have upstream and downstream. So if there is a TC sample, normally when we get a TC, which we have received some throughout the years, I would turn around and get a call from the Missouri State Lab, letting me know there was a TC sample, or Missouri, Department of Revenue. But somebody would call me. So I would turn around, I would repeat my samples, upstream and downstream from that particular spot, and resubmit my samples. And if they come back clean, then I usually fill out a survey, and I've checked out if somebody was flushing a fire hydrant, or if there was a water main break in the area. We go through and start eliminating processes that can cause a TC sample. There's a lot of variables that can cause it. It can actually just be from a dirty faucet. I mean, you can cough and set it off. There's a whole lot, it's a very sensitive test. I mean, I actually, if I'm not wearing a mask when I pull samples, I'm actually holding my breath, because I do not want to breathe it. It's that sensitive. I mean, I wash my hands every time I grab a sample. I'm very particular over it. My foreman in water will advise you of that very quickly. It's very sensitive. We don't want people around us when we're doing it. If you have to take the screen off, you have to bleach it. So there's a lot of steps too when pulling a sample. You got 100 milliliters of water, and you got 2 little lines on the bottle. I meant to bring one in, forgot it. But that way, you've got lines to be in. Even outside areas in the wind blowing can set it off. Any dirt, there's 1,000 different ways. But every month we pull routine samples. I have 3 years up here. I provided for the board if anybody wants to see it. So we routine sample every month. That's standard. And we've been lucky on that clear water. We do not fluoride, we do not chlorinate. We're going to temporary chlorinate for a while, but then hopefully we'll go back to our normal ways. So.
Board, any questions from Steve on the process? Any questions? All right, thank you. Okay, so Alderman, Alderwomen, any questions, concerns, thoughts, anything you want to say at this point?
My only question was, why did we have to wait 2 weeks to start flushing?
Well, when we was pulling through the samples, DNR first asked us, because, E. coli is something we've never received before.
Yeah.
So DNR come down immediately and pull samples. When they get an E. coli sample, they come down and actually sample themselves. And then after that, we got the total chloroform sample. That's what set us off on the pool. So in that process, we was talking about chlorine. They wanted us to go ahead and shock the system. That's when I, advised DNR, we just can't go in there and just throw chlorine in our system. Our wells are not set up for this that's processed. Our wells, when they come out of our certain towers, we have one that directly feeds right into the system. But on our 250,000 gallon elevated tanks, it comes directly out of the pump into a T, which it either fills the tower or comes directly into the system. So when you're chlorinating, you wanna be able to control your amount and make sure you're regulating, and there was no way to do that. So in that process, they turned around, they wanted a second opinion, that's where Missouri Rural Water come down and give their opinion and followed up with me, saying that we have to have pumps and everything else. So after all that process went through, they agreed to let me go ahead and start flushing the system in the only way we could to clean the system, and that was to start opening up hydrants and flushing the system hard. And I drained the towers, and I started with the towers and worked my way out to make sure the system was good.
Thank you.
Well,
Can I ask one question for you guys?
Yeah.
Is there a danger for damage to the wastewater system or
No.
the runoff of the wastewater system into the creek with chlorine?
No, by the time it gets out to the wastewater system, there's enough contaminants in wastewater that it's gonna deplete the chlorine levels in it.
Thank
I think Steve brought up a good point. The reason that we are not going with the shock system is because we did feel that it was a danger to our residents. And so the gradual chlorination system, whereas it does cost more money, it does allow the chlorination process to go slower. And then, so it takes longer time, but it also, we feel, is much safer for our residents in order to be able to do that.
So I know we had a lot of water main breaks, and it's probably one of the ones that led to all of this. Do you have any, I've been thinking and strategizing with all this construction going on, what we're going to do with the water main breaks? Is there some preventive measures we can take to prevent this from occurring, or we just gotta go with the flow?
basically, when there's a water main break, we always flush the system. You know, we wanna make sure, and a lot of times we fix the water pressure completely under pressure. Due to the fact we don't want debris and all getting in there. That's why you see a lot of my poor guys are soaking wet. And they're trying to fix it hot to keep the pressure, of course, in the town, but also keep down any bacteria or dirt or anything else getting in the main. So when that happens, we automatically go above stream and open hydrants and downstream. And, you know, we do that to either lower the pressure or blow it out and clean it and help us with the process. But what you're asking here is when this happens, the only thing we can do aside from chlorinating is to go open up hydrants and flush. But when it's just like, to make it simple, make it where everybody can understand it, it's just like a stream. It's crystal clear, normal day. You get a heavy rain, it gets dirty. It brings up the sediments. Water mains are the same way. They have natural material inside them. You know, water has natural stuff in it. And you stir that up, and you can cause, you know, dirt and everything else, you know, rust. Anything that's built up in the lines over the years of water flow, hard water, you know. So when you raise the pressure up and down, it causes turbulence in it. So that's why you need to flush and let it settle out, and then try to pull your routine samples and make sure everything's good and clear. I mean, if you take a water main break and then turn around and pull a sample on right after that, I mean, just right then, you're more than likely gonna get a TC sample because you're gonna have something broke loose and stirred up. So the main question here, you know, what you're asking is, routine flushing is the best way we can handle this. It's a little more on the water loss, but it's safe and it's effective if it's done properly.
Is there anything we're doing to help prevent the water main break from happening in the first place?
Well, we're working with all the water companies the best we can. And our system's very old, and there was no tracer wires put with our systems. We have very few lines that's new enough to have tracer wire. So 98% of the system has no tracer wire. We have plastic, we have cast, we have transite pipe, and it's very hard to trace it. You know, we have to go off knowledge of mine and shows and the other guys that we've dug there before. You know, just because we dug right there and we know it's right there, doesn't mean it's right there 2 blocks down the road. So we try to locate as best we can. We've spent more money on newer locators, but without tracer wire, it's still not 100% accurate. I mean, they might get you within so many feet. But when these boring companies are born, it's just like anything else. You know, they're born underneath the ground. They don't know what they're gonna hit. You know, they can hit rock, they can make their bore tip shoot up, and they can shoot right through the mains. I mean,
phone, I mean, you've got all kinds, you got electric, you got fiber, you got gas, you got water, you got sewer, there's all kinds of stuff underneath the ground. So, everybody's doing their best to try to work together on it, but it's, you know, some days, and you have that many boring companies in town at one time, it's gonna happen, there's no way of preventing it.
We've spent hours standing out there helping more companies find the main they're trying to. I mean, I spent an hour yesterday in the countryside looking for one water main for, maybe.
We knew exactly where it was at, what, 80 feet away. But,
So thinking, our water lines, we obviously have old water lines in our town, right?
yes,
So eventually, like, there's a plan to go through and replace water lines. I know that funding is a big deal, it's a huge fun project.
Yeah,
but-
and I'll go ahead and speak to that. So last year, our voters voted for a water bond for $15 million. It was voted yes by an overwhelming majority. And so, you know, once that was approved, then we went through the process of deciding what the next step is going to be with that. And so, as most of you know, Countryside is receiving all new water mains right now. That was, they had the transite pipes there, and so for anyone that lived in, or lives there, Trevor, our mayor, knows, when the companies have been there, we had a lot of water mains, because even just a little bit of ground disturbance can cause a water main of that type to break. And so that was a place that we decided that would be the first place to go ahead and replace lines. And so, I mean, that's a $4 million project. And so of the $15 million, $4 million of that is being used already. And so these aren't projects that get done overnight. I mean, the process from beginning to start of that project was about 9 months, because you have to engineer it through DNR. You have to put it out for bid. You have to go through the bid process. You have to make sure that the company that gets that bid when they can start. And so it's not a fast process. So do we have a plan? Absolutely, we have a plan to move through the city and change out and replace those water mains that need to be done. But it can't happen overnight.
just to take that one step further, they also have to keep water in there the whole time, and while they're putting in new. And then they have to pressure test it, then you have to chlorinate it, then you have to dechlorinate it. And then you gotta, once you pass all of that, then you gotta start going back and digging it back up again and hooking on the surfaces. So there's so many steps to install a water main that, there's just not a one-step process, there's a multiple parts process.
But we feel pretty good, like, once we get these new water mains in place and we start this process over the course of the next several years, we'll have the trackers in.
We'll have tracer wires, all the new mains come up through the valves, where we'll have the valves to maintain them. So we'll have wire right there that we can pull right up out of our valves and hook to it and trace it. We have some newer ones that we put out to Quaker that have tracing wire. There's another one on Akron Road, Sunset Strip. I mean, we have a few that's got tracing wire, but they're newer mains that the city's put in the last few years. And there's state laws out there now, every line put in the ground has to have tracing wire. Even the homeowners have to put in tracing wires now when they're updating their services. And the city's working with, all the local contractors and just start putting in tracing wire. So it's gonna be a process. I mean, it's not been that way for years, and it's new steps are coming, and it's gonna be a new thing for everybody.
I go back to your repair process real quick. When you guys repair under pressure, is that how we keep from having to do a boil order for every break?
Yes, we try to make sure, and when we say 20 pounds per, less than 20, we try to keep 20. It doesn't mean that one part of the town is not gonna be lower than the others. We check our system and we go to our wells, and as long as we're got water, 20 pounds throughout different spots, we're not going on board, or we keep the water going. And that's why we try, that's why your fluctuation, but you will also see, I know many of you seen water shooting way up in the air, and that's why we're trying to do that. Plus, our system's old. A lot of the places we don't have valves. It wasn't a thing back in the 30s and 40s for people to put in valves. So, in order to actually shut some of the system down, well, we'll use the south side for a prime example. We have a new coffee shop that's wanting to come in, okay? We have to shut down from Taco Bell all the way to Midway Rental to put to cut that line into, for them to install a newer piece. You know, to have a newer coffee shop, so it, you know, that's something nobody can control. It was done years ago and it was out way before my time, way before anybody else's time. But it's just something we have to do.
But with that, we are working with the contractors to put valves in there that we can isolate.
Right. So, and the city, we've already purchased the valves and with the contractors and scheduling it. And while we're chlorinating, it's a perfect time because it's a new main, it's gonna need to be chlorinated. So we've already talked to them. It's a perfect time for you to go ahead and install that line because we're gonna be chlorinating anyway, so we can chlorinate their line and make sure it's safe while we're in the process. So we're, you know, trying to work with everybody.
Yes, sir.
Just a clarification also, DNR is the only one that can issue a boil order. Cities do a boil advisory, and that is if they have had a break and potentially could have had hazards and they're gonna fill samples after the break has been fixed, they issue a boil advisory. And DNR does the boil orders, and y'all know what the orders are about, so.
Anyone else? Okay, so my turn. So one thing I don't think we did very well in the beginning was probably let people know what was going on. And by what I mean by that is, I think we need to find another system to let people know. We have a texting system, but I don't know how many of you know that we have a texting system. Yeah, and I see faces out there that people don't have any idea. You can sign up and get a text from the city whenever something happens. And we probably need to do a better job of letting you all know that that's going on. We try to use social media and do some other things. There's an older woman up here that called me and thought, hey, is there a way to get on the Amber Alert system to where we can let people know that that's going on? I don't know if that's possible or not, but I'm open to those ideas. If you guys have those ideas on other ways to get it out to people, because I think that's something that was probably, we could have done better, but I don't know how we could have done it better at this point. So I'd love to hear you guys' ideas on that. Other than that, I don't know that I have a whole lot of other questions. I think we'll open it up for questions. Anything else from the board?
That information regarding texting was put on the water bills, was it not?
It was. It's been out there, but
Yeah.
a lot of people don't think
Don't
about
read
it
them
until
and-
you need it.
I know that a lot of people have called into City Hall, and our City Hall staff has done a good job of making sure that people know when they do call in, hey, did you know that we have a text alert system? And so, that's been done very well, but, you know, we were posting it on our social media back when we first started, but we haven't done that in a while, and so I just made a note to do that. I'll do it tomorrow with the, instructions on how to get that out there. So, you know, we do like to get things out there as quickly as we can, but there is a specific way that we have to do that, and if I'm not in town or something like that, then it doesn't always get done immediately. So we do ask that you bear with us, because it is something that has to be done from a certain place. It's not something that I can just do from my phone, so just bear with us on certain situations when it comes to that.
Yeah, go for it. Come on.
So, just a suggestion, an annoying suggestion, but your tornado sirens have speakers. So it's a method for cities to put out, you know, the Russians are invading or you need to boil the water. So that would be an alternative. Also speaking from experience from the fire department, not this fire department, but another, we actually sent fire trucks out down the street to use our loudspeakers to put out an emergency message throughout the communities.
I get it. Great suggestion. Yes.
In reference to that, I know of several older people that do not have cell phones, so therefore an alert system does them no good at all.
Agreed. That's why I wanted other suggestions, because I couldn't think of any, but that's a great one. So, anything else?
Or notices on the doors, or, you know, yeah.
Bulk order mail, I don't know if they give
By
a
the
discount
time
to
that
cities
gets
for
to
that.
people though, it could be a week, down the road, and
That's true.
we were hoping it would be done by 2 days.
For
So, I mean, that was,
Right,
It
true.
would have been, yeah, I mean, especially with, you know, mail is,
Well,
especially, and I don't wanna, you know, speak badly about it, but especially this time of year, I mean, just the number of packages that the post service has been delivering, you know, during that time, it's a lot, and so, you know, even we got it out to the paper as soon as possible, but, you know, it was late enough in the week that it didn't even make the paper, and so it was in the paper the next week, and so, you know, people learned about it late that way, and so, you know, we did the best we could with what we had. We really feel, and we could have gone door to door, but I mean, that's, you know, 2,800 doors. Yeah, it's a lot of doors,
But we'll be better next time. That's one of the things why we have these meetings, so we can get better.
Just to let everybody know, on the board, unfortunately, it happened to us right before a weekend. And then we had a holiday involved and everything else, so it was really difficult. State lab and other, everybody worked with us together. Manny was on the phone 24/7. I know I was on the phone. I was working Saturdays, Sundays, and everything else. We was trying to do everything in our power. So that didn't help.
Lord.
Want to stand here so I can look at everybody? Lori Kiso, resident of 221 West 8th Street. This was a terrible situation. It was very terrible. There was nothing that anybody could have done. So I hope you all realize that. I just got Facebook a year ago. I've been very disappointed in the way people are acting on Facebook. I do think the city could have done a better job at being transparent. And I've already talked to my alderman and the mayor and the city administrator. Yes, you can put stuff out on social media. My neighbors don't have social media. I went to my neighbors' homes and said, do you know that there's a boil order? Do you know that we're giving away, that the city's giving away free water? You can't just say that the responsibility lies on all of these people. It also lies on every one of you. So I want you to realize that it takes all of us. To use Hillary Clinton's term, it takes a village, although I don't believe in her politics. But I do think that all of you need to realize that sometimes you have to do a little work to make your community better.
Yes, sir.
Hi, I'm John Diggs. I live in north end of Maple, y'all. And you may have addressed this, I'm real hard of hearing, so if you already addressed this already, I apologize. Now, I thank everybody for showing up tonight to talk to us and letting us know what's going on. But I noticed that there's nobody here from any of the construction companies that have been going around here. You have said, okay, then why don't you come on up here and tell us that why the horizontal boring is not affecting our water at all?
I'm not saying it's not, but this is a growing community, we're putting fiber to home for you guys. You think
I
we want to
understand that, sir.
clear your guys' stuff up? I got the water people out here with us every day.
I understand,
For hours,
I
into the
understand,
night,
sir.
into the nights, trying to find the stuff.
I
And we
understand,
can't
sir.
promise you that that's not happening,
But-
but we can't find them, there's no locating stuff.
If you break something, you should be responsible for fixing it.
I
Why
do fix
is
it,
the
I had a
city
gentleman right
having to
back there, I
fix
found
it
his sewer, and did I not fix it and replace your driveway?
I understand that, but why are we having to pick up the contamination in the city? Why are we?
Do you not
citizens here?
want your city to?
Well, I do want it to, but why are you not paying for this?
We pay for everything that we tear up,
Okay,
we
so
get bills.
okay, so here's the deal. We have to grow as a city. Part
Oh,
of
I
that is,
understand that, but this damage now, the citizens here are paying for the damage that has been done now.
I
So
live in
what-
this town, I pay for it too.
so part of this
Okay,
is
I'm not-
that some of the stuff, and I'll speak for my neighborhood. My neighborhood was put in the late 70s, early 80s. At that point, it was concrete. It's asbestos concrete. There is no way to know where those things are, and if you touch it, I promise you it explodes. So they have an impossible mission
If
not
somebody
to do
breaks your
anything.
home, sir, if a contractor breaks your home, who is responsible to break your home, repair your home?
Okay, so part of the responsibility is on us as well. We're supposed to mark those lines and let these guys know exactly where they are.
Okay, so it's my responsibility for the inaptitude of the not being able to locate the lines. You're telling me that it's my responsibility to pay because of y'all fuck up.
So none of us were around at that point, sir?
Neither am I.
No, I know, neither were we.
But we were all affected by the boiler.
Correct.
So this
So was I. We all lived there as
businesses
well.
were affected by this boiler.
Absolutely.
And then now we're having to pay for it.
Correct.
Okay.
Okay, so back to that, I just wanna say that
Let's go.
the stuff that we do,
No, that's
we
bullshit.
pay for it too, because I'm not complaining, that's my job.
Yep.
I sit out there with Steve, with Jonathan, and everybody else, and we sit out there and look for lines on hours. We get paid by the foot, we do not get paid by the hour.
Yep.
So, We know his marks are wrong, because we know he doesn't know where they're at. It's not our fault that everybody's grandfathers 52 years ago, 75 years ago, put it in and then put the line in. Didn't put the tracer line in. It's not his fault, it's not his fault, it's not your guys' fault, it's nobody's fault. We're finding them. It sucks we're finding them the expensive way, but at least he's coming out there. I send him pictures. He's coming out there. He's taking track of where it's at. So when the next contractor goes through there, we know where they're at. So just because we don't find, I'm not saying the next contractors later aren't gonna find them. They will find some that we missed, that we didn't touch, that we don't know where they're at yet. I mean, I'm working with, I've got 3 or 4 watermark lines on the road and calling him every day, 5, 6 times at night. So I'm ready to go the next day. Because I'm spending hours and wasting thousands of dollars of my money too, which does not bother me because this is my community too.
Yep.
And I do not have a problem doing that for everybody. And we're going through every yard, and now that this is all blowed up, we got the news media out there, and everybody's blaming us. It's nobody's fault, except for people that put it together years before we were even born.
Yep.
And we can't help that. Now we're just picking up the mess, and we're trying to build it better. If people don't like it, they can drill a well. They can put their own water in there, and then test that, and tell me there ain't ever any organisms in there, because I promise you there is.
Hey,
People just don't check it.
I can verify for exactly what they say, okay? You've been at my mailbox 2 or 3 different times trying to find the water line.
Yes.
So I verify exactly what you're saying.
Yes, I work my butt off in this community. We should be putting in 1,500 to 2,000 feet a day. There's days I put in, what, Steve, 200 feet? 200 feet. And what they're paying us doesn't even pay wages.
I agree with you. I mean, and
So,
it's part of the progress, so I agree with you.
And what I want to say is, I think Steve's doing a great job. I mean, he puts the lines on the ground. I mean, technically, he shouldn't have to sit out there no more. He should put the lines on the ground, one call, put the lines on the ground. They should be able to walk away. And when we hit it, we sit out there with them. Do we have to sit out there with them and dig it whenever it's not our fault? No, because it's not his fault. But it saves the city money, so you guys don't have to drag any equipment out there or anything like that. And we got everybody in here bitching at us when we're going through town. We can't help that we tear the yard. I go back and I fix them. If there's a problem, why can't anybody just come up to us nicely and be like, hey, man, if you could come back and check our yard, instead of coming up there screaming at us.
I agree.
I live in this town. I go to the grocery store, I go to Walmart, I get mother like everybody. As far as I'm concerned, they can get a cup and a string, and they can talk that way. They want to go back to mailing, I don't care. I believe that everybody should turn around and at least appreciate everything that everybody in this community is doing. Because we're doing everybody a favor. And yes, it sucks right now, growing pains sucks. But we're doing everybody a favor, and I believe everybody should at least give a little appreciation to Steve, his guys. Everybody's out there working daylight till dark, through the night, through the holidays, to make sure everything is going good for everybody. And then everybody comes here and they're worried, oh, our money, nobody's doing nothing. I mean, I'm sorry. I believe that as a community, we're all doing good, working together. I have never, ever worked with a community water director as good as I have in this town. I've worked Jeff City, I've worked Winsville, I've worked O'Fallon, I've worked in Illinois, Shelbina, I've worked everywhere in Missouri. Warrensburg, this one right here is by far the best. You call him, he's out there in 10 minutes. If not, he just asks you, can you please wait so we can prevent something that could happen. And he'll go out there and he'll sit there with you, so that way if we're drilling and we hit it, he's there to get it fixed right away, so we're not waiting. So I believe he is doing a great job.
Appreciate it.
Now you tell me Merry Christmas.
Next. Anyone else?
You know, some of these main breaks are blessing towards, because that's the only time those lines are gonna get changed, when they break. And right now, that's our current case. So the blessings do come to us,
We have,
even if it's in the form of a water main break.
we found some and Shoke and Jonathan, I'm sorry, I shouldn't tell anybody's name. But, our maps will show, okay, it's on the right side. Well, I've dug, and all the years I've been here, I know it's right here. But then we get down there, and the water main does this on us. Nobody knows that. The map still shows it going this way. We found multiple mains in every direction. We found more mains that they've said is dead. It's not dead. They're still active. So, we're going through, Jonathan's writing on maps all the time. We're taking pictures. we're making notes, and eventually, when we get through this, we'll be going into the map, and we're drawing it all out, and then we'll take it to an architect and have it redone. But it's a growing pain, just like everybody's saying, and it's, nobody's perfect. I mean, we're trying the best we can, everybody's working hours and long hours. And I definitely want to thank my gentlemen, because they give it all.
Those gentlemen right there know my parents really well over on land. I mean, they're out there non-stop trying to fix that stuff, and it seems like it's 5-6 times a year for whatever reason, but
Well,
they're
it should
always.
be a while to replace that statue behind your mom's.
Hopefully, man, her flowers. She said that's enough water.
It's really good. It's all plastic back there now. Other questions?
Yeah, I got one more, sorry. So I do wanna say that it is frustrating to hear Steve's fall all the time. Steve, I know you bust your ass, you're probably the hardest working man in the city right now. And I hate to see social media sit here and hear this man, oh, it's Steve's fault, oh, Steve won't fix it. When this man is probably away from his family more than anybody during the time he's supposed to be with his family during holidays. Christmas, New Year's. Steve probably spent more time away from his family than anyone else. Anytime I ever called Steve, he's done. So my question is though, have we looked at what it's gonna cost to do the whole city? And have we looked at how to budget it? Is there grants from states or federal grants? I mean, to where it doesn't have to hit the homeowners? You know, cause I mean, I know that everybody's struggling right now with the economy, but one thing I will say is, you know, I pulled the building permit the other day, and I pulled building permits in the United States. I was blown away by how cheap it was. So if we're the ones putting the weight on the water system by doing more construction, new building permits, maybe there should be a fee for every permit that we pull to add to that, like city maintenance, road maintenance, stuff like that. When I pull permits, there's always a fee on there for upgraded road maintenance, upgraded whatever, right? Because as we grow, which the city is growing, and we're trying to make it better, we gotta pay for it some way, but you gotta try to figure out a way, hopefully not to hit the homeowners. So that was just some thoughts. I didn't know if we looked into it, what it's gonna cost, how we break it out over years to get it done, how many years we think we can do, because obviously you started in one area, but you know, where my grandson is and my new grandson is, might be one of the last people to get it, and I don't wanna know if they got sick because of it, right? So, I mean, I think we all have to figure out a way to do it and accept that it's gonna take a while to get fixed. And yeah, we're gonna have inconveniences, and we're gonna have to fix our roads and stuff like that, but these city guys, they're out there. I saw Steve at 1 o'clock in the morning, he finished the rental house. He was out digging a hole himself at 1 o'clock in the morning. This man cares about the city. So you guys on the social media want to rip this man, just take it off social media. It's not worth it, just like our cops. I mean, you know, these guys, I had an incident happen, and these guys were right on it. I mean, within 3 days, they recovered everything I did. So the bashing's gotta stop. We gotta stand for our city employees, firefighters, city workers, because they're probably some of the lowest paid in the city, so I just want to add that.
Yeah. I'll address a few of those things. Grants. We got some grant from COVID money before to do the Sunset Strip one. We tried to get it for the Countryside project, and we didn't get that to go through in time. It didn't work.
Wait, you said we got it from who?
COVID money.
Oh,
COVID money for the Sunset Strip. We didn't get anything for the Countryside project. That project was ready to go. We just had to send it out for bids. That's why we're doing that one first. It was already ready. All we had to do was go out there. It also has transite in it, which is asbestos concrete, which is not good stuff. There's another spot in town that hopefully we can get to before too long that has that stuff as well. Hopefully we can get rid of those. As far as grants right now, the way you get grants is based on median income and how much you're charging for rates. We are not charging enough for our water rates right now to qualify for a lot of those grants. I'm not saying there aren't some out there that we would qualify for, and I'd love to find those if we could find those. But right now we're charging $27.
$24.
Okay. $24.72 if you use 5,000 or less on the lowest water main, which is probably most of our houses, I would say, are on the lowest, what do I say, the lowest line. Yeah, in 1 inch line, right? Half inch line. 3/4 inch line, there it is. So yeah, if we can find grants, we'd love to do that, so it doesn't hit everybody, or at least a portion of it does. We're always looking for those. We can find them, let's do it. I also got an idea where right now we're paying some for sewer. We've almost got our sewer system back up to where we were 5 years ago. We were in kind of a bind with DNR with our sewer. Our sewer system's looking much better. Hopefully, maybe we can switch some of that charge that we have on our sewer now over to water, so we're actually charging more for water, but no one really sees it on their overall bill. It's an idea, we'll see what happens.
I think it's a, I'm sorry.
Oh, no, okay.
I was just say, as a reminder, we also need to remember that, the bill that you get, your utility bill, is not just your water bill. It's comprised of your water, your sewer, and your trash. And so, average bill is about $75 to $90 for those three things. And so, if you look at our water rates compared to those around, we're of the lowest in the area for water itself. And so, you know, we've seen a lot of people complain about their, you know, $70, $80 water bills. And I just want to make sure that everybody is very clear. If you're residents, you should get those bills and you should be looking at them. But it does include your water, your trash, and your sewer. And so if you're using the minimum amount of water for the amount that you're charged, then you're only paying about $25 a month for water, plus a DNR fee of less than $5. So just something to remember. And so that monthly fee of about $25, you have to remember when we're talking about a countryside project of $4 million, that $25 per house per month, that doesn't go very far. And so just please keep those things in mind when you are complaining about how much you do have to spend on utilities, because if you talk to your neighbors and other surrounding communities, you're not paying that much compared to those.
So the last question was, do we have an idea how much it's gonna cost to do Old City? And we
We only bid it out as we get projects going, so I don't have any idea.
I mean, it's at least a 5-year project, and so, you know, we're looking for the next 5 years at a time, and then from there, we'll continue to go from there. So yes, the water mains in the city will need to be replaced. Yes, we plan on doing them all. How much it's gonna cost, it also depends on how much product goes up between now and then. I mean, if you look at how much it would have cost, 5 years ago to replace the water mains, you're probably looking at, 60% of the cost of what it does now. And so we have to keep those things in mind as well. And so it's very difficult for us to budget, 5, 10, 15 years in the future when the cost of things just go up so much.
Yeah, I don't know how to guess that. Yeah.
So on that out there in countryside, you said it was like 9-month process or whatever, so have you started the process on any of that other areas to be able to speed it up?
The other areas for replacing water mains?
Correct.
No, because you have to have it engineered, then you have to put it out to bid. So it takes a while for that to happen.
But that's what I'm saying, so if you...
name, sir?
Cody Bishop.
Thank you.
But that's what I'm saying, so you've started out there, and it's a 9-month process. So while that's starting...
Go to the next one?
Could you not get an engineer or whatever starting?
Yeah, we could definitely start looking at the next area, which we have been doing, but as a city, I don't know that we want to have multiple projects like that going on at the same time, especially with all the other work that's being done at this time. So it's a lot for our employees to keep up with as far as locates, mishaps with water mains and things like that. And so it's a process. It's not, like I said, it's not an overnight thing that we can just do everything at once. If we could, that'd be great, but it would cost us millions of dollars. The number of breaks and mishaps that we would have, where people would be out of water. There's a lot of things to consider with that, and so
I see what
it's
you're
not
saying,
just
though.
something.
You're saying go ahead and start looking at it and maybe start getting it engineered, that way we're ready to go whenever it gets to that point. Yeah, I don't think that's a bad idea. Engineering services are not cheap. I'm not sure that's not a bad idea, though. Countryside, we had that engineered for, goodness. During COVID is when we started getting that engineered, so.
We did have a meeting a while back, and I don't know if you remember or not, but we talked, there is a 5-year plan, and we talked about getting it engineered ahead of time, but we're trying to make sure we pick the spots that we can get the water main replaced along with the road and the other utilities.
Yeah, that's the other thing I'm really big on, is that I hate it when we fix a water main somewhere and then we fix a road next to it. And inevitably what happens is that road looks really great and the water main underneath that road breaks, and we've got this great water main over here, but the road over here looked great for a while, but now we've cut into it 3 or 4 times. So we're trying to wait until stuff is finished and then go back through it and go through it. But yeah, no, I like that idea. Just kind of stay ahead of it.
Because in reality, this could happen again tomorrow, right?
Absolutely. I hope not.
Yeah, well, no.
But you're right. If it happens tomorrow, we're chlorinating, so if it's gonna happen, I hope it happens tomorrow morning before it's chlorinating. Yeah, I hope not.
I think we all have PTSD, so let's
Yeah,
not
I agree.
So, circling back to the very beginning, of the samples that have been pulled, were any of those done at private homes? And if so, if the samples that tested positive for the TC, could it be because of the plumbing in the home?
Of course it could have been.
So they were
But
pulled
most
at
likely
home?
it could have been, yes.
A few of them were pulled at private rate.
Yeah, there's parts of town where there's not really a commercial area to pull from, so you gotta pull from a residence's home. And yeah, absolutely, it could be in their pipes.
So how do we fix that?
Actually, this go around, there was none, the original samples, there was no positives at the homes. It actually come at our public safety building, so.
The second one came from City Hall, which we
And that's
believe
what's
was a bad faucet.
And yes, we pull from a
Did
lot.
you get a new faucet?
We do have a new faucet now.
Yes, but we pull from a lot of different residentials. It's because there's just not a lot of options. And just to be real honest, you know, a lot of times we come to a door and we see the city of Eldon and we ask to go in and we don't really know them. There's, you know, they're spooked. Well, what are you doing? There's a lot of questions. You know, they question you. And then you gotta walk them through the process and let them know that you're not there to affect their everyday lives, you're just pulling a water sample. If there's, you know, and if people get stressed, now we got random spots throughout the town, so we've always had good water. I mean, we've been very blessed. And and unfortunately, we had this bad go around. But, I've been here for 30 years and I think we've done pretty good for what we've done. Eldon is, I mean, everybody here is drinking actually well water just like you would out in the country. We do not chlorinate, we do not fluoride, so the only thing difference between our wells and the house well is that ours is a lot bigger and produces a lot more water. So, you know, we try to work with everybody and we actually, we call it a site plan, sampling site plan, we have it posted and anybody's more than welcome to come and see it at any time they want.
Posted where?
We have it posted at the Y building in our offices, or anytime you wanna come and see it, you're more than welcome.
Are you the only one certified to pull the samples?
No, I'm not. Jonathan is too.
As,
Going forward with the construction project, as we replace the water lines, instead of doing all this boring, would it be easier as we lay the new water lines, to lay the new fiber optics at the same time?
If everybody could coordinate that way, which sometimes it's hard to do that.
And I'm just talking about less construction, less headaches, if we're already tearing up the yards, do it all at once.
So they're doing, right now, just so you guys kind of know, they're in Countryside right now. We just had Ameren go through Countryside, and then the water's getting done at Countryside. Knock on wood, by the time everybody is out of there, there shouldn't be anything under the ground that we haven't touched other than sewer, and sewer you can line. You don't have to dig it up. You can line it unless it's just completely prone. And we have done some there too as well. So hopefully that neighborhood will be another 40 years before we have to touch it. And I can tell you that these guys were out there a ton before that, because those pipes were burst every week.
We average, on an average year, we average 6 water main breaks in Countryside without the board companies.
because the lines were so undersized?
No,
It's the material.
What they're made out of.
It broke. Anytime like dry weather, storms, the ground shifts.
It's concrete, and it has no give. It just explodes. I don't know. That's probably not the right word, but
No, it does.
it explodes.
Yes, it is.
My question is,
Tell everybody.
my name's Terry Tebow, I live on Newton Street. That's my question. How do you prioritize what areas get water mains first? Because like, how old did you say Countryside is?
70s, 80s, somewhere in there.
I live on Newton Street. My house was built in 1934. So God only knows, they may not know where the lines are. I had the first one to replace the sewer line coming out of my house all the way to, and I had to pay to dig into the street to get to the main.
Until you get to the main, yes. It's
Yeah.
your responsibility to other.
Right.
So to answer your question, the way we prioritize it is where are we having the most water main breaks? Because these guys' time, it's expensive, and whenever they go places. There's certain things like the contractor that did Sunset Strip on the other side of the highway of CC from Countryside. I was talking to him one day and I said, hey, what are you thinking? And he goes, you picked the wrong project first. You should have done Countryside first. And I said, well, why? He said, because that stuff just blows up whenever you touch it. He said, you're gonna have problems with that until you fix it. So we've taken that into consideration. Where these guys are working most of the time, they've got a pretty good 5-year plan on where they should be going next. And unfortunately, some of that cast iron stuff lasts forever.
Yeah, mine's clay.
Yeah, clay does not.
Yeah.
That's not a good option.
Just collapse on the sewer
So,
line.
but that's how they prioritize it. Where they see a lot of leaks, what makes the most sense to fix to where they're not gonna have to go back for a while.
And I have just one simple question. You were saying you wear a mask that because it can be contaminated real easy. And I'm not criticizing, I'm just curious why you wear a mask and not gloves when you take your samples.
Well, for one, I wash my hands, and plus, if there's I should have brung it in, but there's a little sample bottle, that has a little tab on it, I'm trying to get a hold of it.
Yeah.
And
It's hard to do with gloves.
I
I
got big
understand.
I got big fat fingers on me, right, honest, and I have hard enough time. to
And
get a
I'm
hold of
definitely
things.
not criticizing.
So,
It was just a
but
simple
yes,
question.
I wash, but when I grab the very top of the lid, I do not touch any of the thread, and I grab it and I slip it right back on me. So,
Well, I personally witnessed him collect one of the samples, and he bleaches everything with paper towel, takes the little
Screen.
off, sprays it with bleach, douses it with bleach, without touching any of it with his hands.
Okay.
So,
And I'm gonna go back to what Lori said too. It takes all of us. We gotta be a community and we gotta share all this information we're getting here tonight with all of our elderly neighbors who may not be on social media. We gotta share that because my mom and dad live over at Rock Island Village. And I'm gonna go back over there to the administrator and suggest to them that maybe during this chlorination process, they may stay on bottled water for like a week or so, you know, just during this. So it's up to us to spread the word.
Steve, is the engineering firm helping you remap this as we go?
I can, anytime I need Miko to update it, yes. I mean, we have to send them and draw it in and they can update it. We don't have the data system in our computers, but they can. But the biggest problem we have right now is getting enough information to get it all done. So what we're doing is collecting as we're going along, and hopefully at the end of the year, put into this process, we'll send it and they'll update everything we have from this point forward. And if each time something else happens, we'll do it again. It's gonna have to be an ongoing process from now on until we're done.
You can't have the map redone every time you update something because it's too expensive to hire the engineer.
Yeah.
to do it.
No, you have to do it on an annual basis.
Yeah.
So like on my standpoint, when we find a water line, I had Kayleen a couple years ago print out a big map I have in my office. So when we find a main that either is different from what our map says, or we didn't know there was there at all, I go in there with a pen, mark it myself, write the size, that way my guys, if I go back there, hey, there's a main here, it's this size, it's this type, that's what that means, so we know. I mean, because none of our older maps show some of it.
And you said you're laying tracer wire at the same time.
Yeah, and with anything new, you have, yeah, anything new. Now, none of the older pipe has it, of course.
Right.
And on water main breaks of old lines, you're not digging the whole entire length, so you're just spot digging, so you can't put wire with it, because you have to dig the whole thing, or you don't get it. You have a piece of wire sticking out all around. I'm not gonna tell you that.
I have a question.
Hang on a second, Mark, you have something?
Yeah, if you don't know me, I'm Mark Ringen, I live on Dunston Drive, South Dunston, to be specific. I want to caveat on the grants. Has the city looked into the community development block grants that are done by economic development? Because the city of Osage Beach just got a $300,000 grant. So, and that's free money that we don't have to pay for any projects. So any projects would help offset other things to move money around.
Yeah, now we try to look at those. I mean, we've got CDBG grants for other things. I don't think we've ever got one for water that I know of. Not that I can remember.
A lot of your grants, you have to make sure it bases on your income
I
too.
know, and that's our problem right now is that our income isn't, what our median income is and what we charge for water is not high enough. We don't charge enough compared to our median income. Does that make sense? You have to charge to a certain threshold. I don't know what it is right now off the top of my head. I can look at
Well,
it.
here's an example of a way you can get more money. The Gasco building has been there since 1982. Steve hooked up sewer to it in 2010-ish. The water main runs right alongside it. It's never been charged a sewer bill. Hook up the water to it, put a meter on it, and charge it.
So there's sewer to it, but no water?
That's right. multiple city councils have been told about it for years, decades.
I did not know that.
What's the address there?
1603 East North Street. What about referring, Sean Gorbazak's meter?
Yeah, we talked about that already.
Pretty
Somebody was out there
deal.
today.
Who's our state representative for this area?
Don Mayhew.
Don Mayhew, but he's not rerunning.
So is there anybody at that level that we can get to? I mean, we're talking about helping people. I mean, you'd think it'd be a priority at the state level.
So we're not unique.
Okay.
There are lots and lots of people today that were one community, two communities, yeah, put on a boil order. It's not a unique problem to Eldon. There are communities all over the place that are being put on boil orders for different things. Yeah, I mean, it's an issue.
I will say also, as soon as we got put on a boil order, Representative Mayhew contacted me to get Steve's contact information. So it was within 30 minutes that he was already on the phone with Steve. And so we have a good relationship with Representative Mayhew. And so we talk to him about street issues, MoDOT issues, all the time. And so yes, we do have a good working relationship with him, but he doesn't just represent Eldon. He represents a large portion of the area. And so, yes, to answer your question, we are working on that.
Water has never been an issue since I've been here, just so you know. This is the first time we've addressed it, so it's new to me. I did a whole lot of studying up on sewer whenever I first became mayor. Water, it's time, so I'll be more educated as we go forward too.
Where do you want to be on?
Probably. Yeah.
So to help these guys with streets, has the city council ever considered putting in an ordinance that would require boring under the streets when hooking up new construction so that they don't have to go back and repair cuts in the streets so often?
I don't know how you would hook up to a main that's in the middle of the street without cutting the street.
Trying to think, city of Lake Ozark.
If their mains aren't underneath the middle of the street, you could probably do it. But a lot of our mains are in the middle of the street. I don't know how.
And you can't move them,
Do you
I'm
wanna-
guessing?
Jake, can you speak to that?
So a lot of it's not for hooking it up, a lot of it is, the problem we're talking about tonight is everybody cutting and drilling through stuff, so we're cutting the street to spot it, so we didn't want our head to go through. So that's where we were going through and we're looking for it, so that way we don't hit it. And whenever you get in countryside estates with that composite stuff, when you're looking for it, you could be 2 feet from it and hit a big rock, and it just moved the ground just right, it'll blow up 3 feet from you. And then you can't help it. There's no stopping it. If you don't cut the street, and you can't get deep enough to go under it, and you don't even know how deep it really is. You can go 6 foot deep, and if there's a water line, I locate water lines the expensive way. Do you want to find a water line? You call me, I'll go find it for you. You can't help it. You get into a soft ditch, and that if you're 2 foot away, you get into a soft ditch, your head falls over into it. You know, it happens so fast, there's no stopping it. So the streets that are cut by the telecommunication companies right now is they are looking for it, so that way we don't hit your water line. Sometimes it happens. So I've cut whole streets, so that way I don't hit it. And then the next guy's mad at me because I have to close the street down. I can't help that. I'm trying to do it to prevent basically what's going on now. Not saying that we did that, what's going on now, but it's a good, you're breaking water lines. It is what it is. But that's what's happening. The streets are being cut to find things. If we didn't have to find them, we wouldn't have to cut the streets. Or we can just drill on, and then you gotta cut 4 times to get the hole, because you hit the water line and it underdated the road. So it's kind of pick your poison. Either way, it's gotta be done.
Yeah, and what you guys are doing is different from new construction. New construction, they can't tap into it without cutting it. So it's an issue. We're growing. We have new builds all the time, and we have remodels all the time, and it's a double-edged sword. It's great. Town's growing, but also we've got a lot of growing pains coming at us. We've got 2 more years of hammering doing gas lines at least. Socket will be done pretty quick.
April.
But also to speak on that note, the streets that we do intend to repave or repair are following what's already been done for the most part. So we're not wasting our money having to cut it as soon as we repave it. That's the general plan. I'm not saying it's gonna be perfect, but that's the idea.
So going forward, I assume we have to do testing periodically now? For water?
We always do.
I think for the confidence of the community is if you just would post, hey, we did testing, it was good.
Yeah. Yeah, we can do that. It's a good idea. And we'll have to do more, as soon as the chlorination is done, we'll have to do some more testing right after that too. So, yeah, that's a good time for us to let people know and start that process. That's a good idea.
And one other thing to consider would be this also goes into more of a homeland security aspect, but you might be able to look at that for funding for grants through them specific, because you're talking about infrastructure, security, and whatnot as well.
It's my understanding the chamber director specializes in grant writing. Are we working hand in hand with him?
He's wrote some homework for us, yeah.
Cool.
We got another one today, actually. We got an email about a different grant. The Lego Council of Local Governments, they're also a member of that. They're writing grants for us as well.
We've used both of those before.
And that's where he came from. He was writing that first.
Well, it's, I think it's a double-edged sword as we look at it. I don't know, but like with both these entities in town, natural gas and the fiber working in the same in their areas. I mean, is that in some level maybe an advantage because maybe one of them will locate or mislocate, and then another people don't know. I know we know it's there, not here. So when they're doing their boring or their work, they're not hitting it again. I mean, does that not making sense?
I think there's
Is
some
there some advantage to both of them in town?
They're all working together. I mean, we've had Miller and Socket right there together and calling one another too, and then talking to us, you know, and everybody's been trying to do their best. But it's just like the mayor was saying, you know, the transite blows up, but we don't have just transite. We have ductile iron, we got cast. Any of that can crack and break at any time. I mean, I've been on many job sites. We've been a block away hammering, trying to install and help with sewers, and you hammering rock out because we couldn't get the sewer line deep enough, and you know the vibration broke the water main. So it's going to happen.
Well, it's like today on Jimford, the concrete crew came in for Miller Pipeline. All they did, pull the top of the asphalt up, saddle on the main right underneath, blew right up.
They're old, and you know they wear out. You know, and we're constantly replacing, and everything's going up. You know, there's been a lot of questioning on it. You know, the meter system, we got questioning. The meters are all digital meters. They're electronic. They're sent. They send a digital reading. City all lets us know when they're not getting readings. We try to get on and get it fixed. But they are calibrated at the master meter and sent to us. There's no moving parts in these meters. So, and they're 99% efficient.
Explain the calibration again.
We don't calibrate the meters. They're calibrated and built for a master meter. There's no moving parts inside them.
They're electronic.
Yes.
And they're programmed by a company that we've contracted with to do it. We've had some issues with them in the past, but we've been replacing the ones that aren't working as we go forward.
Well, and we weren't working hand in
Are
hand
we
with them.
paying for that, or are they replacing it at a charge?
Yes.
They replaced over.
We've replaced a lot because they had a 10-year warranty on them. We're hitting 8 years since they put them in 2015 roughly. And so all the ones that we're having problems with now that are dying or going bad, Master Meter is replacing the heads of them.
We've not paid for near as many as have been replaced for no charge because of the warranty. At least last year, that's how it was.
I just think, is there a way to get my property looked at, because I have a house in town and I'm using no water. My bill is $76. I'm not using any water at all.
Do you have a
Where you
meter?
at?
Yeah.
Okay.
Really?
It's the same spot where I guess one of the water lines had also got hit. We came up to the city, we reached out to whoever's working on it, over 6 months. We couldn't mow there, right by the road.
So are you saying your bill's total is $76 or just the water portion?
The total bill.
Okay.
76,
So-
zero usage for the water.
Yeah, the house is empty.
So $24 of that is going to be for the meter, if there's still a meter in that spot. So whether you're using water or not, you get with a 5,000 gallons free. It's not really free, but for having the meter there's 5,000 gallons, and if you use it up to 5,000 gallons, At that point, then you start getting a usage charge on top of it. So if there's a meter there and that meter is active, you will get charged 24, whatever it is, every time for that. The other piece of it is sewer. Yeah, so another portion of that is sewer, and you have trash there too? I see you do. So that's the water, sewer, and the trash. That's probably pretty accurate.
$76 in changes. The absolute minimum bill is gonna run about that every single month. And so as long as you have a meter there, you're gonna be charged to the minimum charge there.
And you mentioned before that you think that city of Eldon is not charging enough. Are you gonna charge more?
We
You
had.
said our city's pretty cheap as far as paying.
We have not voted to increase water rates for 2026.
I'm smiling because that might be a fight whenever we get ready to talk about that.
And that's, I'm sorry, that's a major drive, you guys can come fix the yard too.
Yeah, it's been close to a year now, that the entire yard, like, a big portion we couldn't even mow in that area.
I believe we was there 3 different times.
Yeah, and
You guys
it's,
know there.
yeah,
So,
Steve's doing everything he can, it's still like a huge puddle, and it was over the summer, and it was dry, and there's still a leak, like, how many of these small leaks are going on elsewhere? Cause, we've reached out to, multiple people that are causing bigger issues in the long run.
you have fixed the water leak there, but it took 4 months to come out.
So-
Because there's not many people on that line.
Yeah.
I wasn't a priority.
And that's what you're saying is accurate. Unfortunately or fortunately, there are times when they have mains bust that are taking the whole side of town. So those get priorities on the leaks that are just leaking through. I can tell you that there was one that ran right next to my neighborhood all weekend and drove me nuts, but I knew these guys were out doing other things. I knew that, you guys don't know that.
A
but I
weekend,
knew it. Yeah.
understandable.
Right.
6-8 months.
Yeah, that's a long time. That's a long time, but if they have a huge main break, they're gonna go to that first. And sometimes those guys work through the weekends up to their necks and
Absolutely. 2 weeks I can even understand,
But at least 4 months, if I had pictures approved.
Yeah.
It took that long. So
Gotcha.
I was kind of wondering why it took so long.
You also gotta understand that not only them are short on staff, everywhere around is short on staff. So when it comes to boring crews, electrical, sewer, water, you only get guys that want to work. The guys that don't wanna work, what are you supposed to do?
Oh, understandable,
So
100%.
like, they gotta be everywhere else to fix all the major problems to get to the simple problems, or the problems that, I understand it's a big problem for you, because you're there.
So is he
And
speaking
he's
on
trying
behalf
to
of
run.
Public Works Department or the city
He's
or
done it
himself?
He's done it for you.
Okay.
In construction.
I would suggest Monday or tomorrow, call Mandy at City Hall and see if she can get a work order on for you.
And so have you
can't
asked
do
City
it
Hall
here.
to have a work order done? Like, what's been your process to get this fixed?
Went to City Hall, spoke to them.
Okay.
It's not leaking now, correct?
No, you guys fixed it.
They fixed
So-
it,
It's just there's a cone, sitting there, so like, it just needs to be.
So do you want to talk about the process on how that works whenever we get a call? Because that might be
Well-
beneficial to.
And unfortunately, they have a feeling, a legit complaint sometimes. We will plan a job and have it all lined out, and actually all the material lined up to head that way, and sometimes actually pulling up and then pull away. Sometimes we have to prioritize what's the worst thing. It's not just water, there's sewer, we have everything breaks, we have to go.
So they have a list, or kind of a running list, on how it works, and there's higher priorities and lower priorities, and those things shift within an hour sometimes. So I'm not saying it was a small problem, because I know my yard was like that too, it would've.
I wanna say months, it's not even weeks,
And sometimes,
So that's what-
we was
Is that
talking,
standard?
and we talked to the board companies about their yard, and it was leaking. And we scheduled it 4 different times that I know of, because I talked to you about it. And every time we went to head that way, something else happened. And it did take a while to get there, we get it fixed now, we do need to go back and work with.
I could go through Big Right and show you how many times I've called to locate for that spot and just never make it there.
Yeah, I don't wanna say it's standard, but I don't wanna say that it
Well,
doesn't happen.
Well, last
It
year was
does.
anything but the one.
I know, I get you.
And we're trying to be more efficient by keeping track, and Randy's got a work order system that helps too, and it repeats back to us, and that helps remind us, okay, we've got this one, we need to jump out
So
over here.
I'll say we're sorry as a city that it took that long.
And
really-
it happens.
Yeah.
We understand that completely. The yard is, like, I have a really pretty yard, and that area area is all torn up, and I don't know if it was from the lines being dug, if it was from the water. Things happen, and I know there's always been. That's not what we're saying at all. It's the yard's still torn up. We couldn't mow in that spot all summer long.
Can you send me an email with the address of that tomorrow? That way I can make sure that it gets taken care of.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
Unfortunately, their yard broke 3 different times, and it just tore the yard up. If you're talking about a 6-inch main, it blew, and it destroys.
Thanks.
But it's got a new one now, right?
It's all repaired, yes.
Yes, sir. Can you tell us your name?
My name is BJ Johnson. You just mentioned that water rates might go up in 26?
No, we
No,
have
we don't
not
have
voted.
Okay, I was just gonna ask if they were on, is it gonna get voted on, or is it gonna just get passed?
So what happens, the process is we have to have a public hearing. We tell you why we're wanting to increase water rates. You have a time to let us know, yes, do it, don't do it. We explain ourselves, you say yes or no, then what happens is the board votes for it after that.
Okay.
So if you see that, tell them.
Yeah, one thing I do want to mention, first I appreciate everyone being here because it's nice seeing the community come together. Unfortunate on an event of this whole wire debacle, but really appreciate you taking the time to come talk with us and be here with us because it's important, right? I mean, you see our city council meetings, there's usually the room's not very full. It doesn't have a whole lot of people in there and not a whole lot of comments. So get to know who your alderman is. And if you have questions or you have something going on in your area, reach out to us. That's why we're here. We're here to represent you guys. We're here to, keep pushing this city forward and growing it. So please be part of that. Like, speak up, use your voice. Please, like everyone else has said, like social media is not where you want to air your frustrations, if you will. But come to us. I mean, we're your aldermen. We're the city administrator, the mayor. Like, we're in this together, but this is ultimately your community as well. So, and that's what I love about Eldon. I mean, all of us come together just to keep making this place great. So, please continue to be part of that.
Yes.
Might be Jim Phillips, Rainbow Lane. It might sound crazy, but where I lived in Jersey, we had a similar issue come up with things in town because things were old and stuff. And one of the creative ways they actually came out to really speed things up to make it really move along is you see all these commercials on TV. Donate $19.99 a month to this charity or this charity. Do you think? And what they did is they took it up with the townspeople on that, and they asked the townspeople if they would pay $1 into that fund a month. And you'd be amazed at how many people did and how fast those projects. I don't know how many houses you have in Eldon, but you might be very surprised at the positive response Eldon would get to where people would do that for their community, because people realize it's your community right now, but it's your kids and your grandkids down the road. So what are we gonna leave them?
It's nice to meet you, by the way.
I think you stopped at my
did.
house.
I did. Anyone else? All right. I think we'll adjourn. Thank you all for being here.
Oh, yeah. Lots of questions. It opened my eyes.
No, yeah, no worries.
I don't know if you want me to stop or not. Is it finished, I guess?